Okay. You got one that just snaps on? Because this always falls out of my ear. I suppose I could get my ears pierced and then...
There's one right here.
Where it's right here? Okay. I'll leave this one for you, Jim John. And turn it off. Okay. Is that better? Everybody can hear? Okay. Now that I'm a little bit on that subject, I really do recommend that you make some spiritual practice part of your daily regimen. Eating, sleeping, wearing clothes, showering, emails, texts. I know it goes beyond that. But getting up early while your mind is still open and fresh and you haven't taken a lot of dust of the world on yet, to find a quiet place in your house someplace, or if you can come down to a monastery, light a stick of incense, cross your legs, just slip into that stillness. It's incredibly purifying and recharging, and it balances everything that follows throughout the day. If you can do it again at the close of the day, beginning of the day, the close of the day, you'll develop a friend or a friendship that just grows deeper and more loyal and rewarding throughout the days. And it doesn't matter if you're young or old. If you started while you're young, you maintain it. Great. If you started while you're old, it's the best way to retire, I suppose, rather than hopping on planes and flying to all these exotic places where they rip you off and you get sick. So you just go, sorry, I'm not much for the welcome wagon. But seriously, if as you develop this and even as you get older, to become more quiet and settled is a real blessing. A lot of us, as we age, get a little nervous. We feel the candle burning down. Mortality is knocking at various ways on the teeth, on the hair, on the joints, on the skin, on the memory. At the same time, you've earned it. It's sort of like grab it, carpe diem, because this is to be left alone, to be free, to do these kinds of practices. It's just richness. So I encourage you, and then I was mentioning before you got the mic, that the winter season is a really good time to do that. Find a still and quiet place, or who is the author, A Room of Your Own. There we go, a senior moment, sorry. The Virginia Woolf talked about a room of your own, and I think this is what the Buddha means by an aranya, a still and quiet place to contemplate. So anyways, create that space. It doesn't take much. You don't have to make a huge investment. It's not like real estate in that sense. All it takes is a square space like this and some quiet. Any event, we're going to go on. I'm going to leave a little more time tonight for Jin Chuan and Jin Wei. They're going to talk more about their trip to China. And I'm not even going to make a promise that we're going to finish this chapter before the end of the semester. I'm not even going to do that. I know. What do you got there?
We're at the end already.
Huh?
I said we're at the end already.
Well, we're kind of at the end already, but we loop back. I go on and I find a passage and I come back to it. So yeah, I'm not going to even promise. If we end tonight, fine. If we don't, that's okay too. What is, I think Lao Tzu has the expression, that which is most perfect is incomplete. So this will be perfect. I'll be incomplete. And Okay, we're looking at the text. Some of you have it, some of you don't. This is the final verses. In one thought, he, the Buddha, contemplates time and space. This wonderful passage of coming and going, all for the purpose of teaching and transforming. It's not out of curiosity. This is not like sightseeing. In fact, if you could say the Buddha has seen everything there is to see and understood it, and therefore there's nothing more to see, not because all things are the same. It's called the level equality of all phenomena, and this is one of the samadhis that a bodhisattva and a Buddha enters. And essentially they see that all dharmas, all conditioned dharmas, are the same. They're of a piece. They come and go, and they have no substance of their own. 10 directions he goes, always happy, behind all difficulties left behind, visits all these lands, and the visit, of course, is for the teaching and transforming. For the sake of benefiting beings, he makes offerings to the Buddha. I already read this wonderful passage from the Avatamsaka that the taking care of, looking after, teaching and transforming, showing kindness, compassion to living beings is one and the same, but doing the very same to a Buddha. Buddhas and living beings are in fact non-dual in this passage of Avatamsaka oneness. So what this means is that there is no worldly and world transcending separation here. By actually being kind, compassionate, sharing, giving, sympathetic, similarity in deeds, all of these conducts of a bodhisattva is in fact drawing near to and making offerings to all Buddhas. They're not apart. But here's a couple lines here then. He obtains the fruit. Let's see where this is. That's the second line. Ru Qi Yihuo Shang Si Guo. He attains the fruit that's difficult, corresponds to his intent, completely accords with and knows all dharmas. So here I'm going to point this out because it's a little bugaboo. I have Heng Sure has the same one. We both kind of obtains the fruit. And in the next line, in the next passage, you have quickly, last line, times he makes offerings, mind implying patient. I'm going to talk about that. But the last line, by means such as these, he quickly accomplished the unsurpassed fruit. Now, huh?
Apples.
Well, it could be apples. I mean, could be pears. First of all, even in English, you don't accomplish fruit. I'm sorry, even in good English. So this is what, I don't know, maybe Heng Sure and I came up with this translating one. We call it Chinglish. It's neither Chinese nor English, and it's sort of got a foot in both worlds and getting the worst from each. That's how I would define Chinglish. It's literal. Sometimes it's de guo, to obtain or gain guo, fruit. Here it's probably chengguo. I don't know. It's what's the accomplish the fruit. Let's see the last line. Cheng, right? To accomplish the fruit. So I'm not going to try to go into this much. It's just pointed out. So when people are translating, we move beyond the Chinglish. If I asked you, if you're not familiar with Dharma terms, what does that mean? Because obviously this is not literal, right? This is not a market thing going on. You're going to get a market. So fruit is obviously a metaphor for something. What is it a metaphor for? Here, it is a Buddha who is the subject. So the Buddha is accomplishing a fruit, obtaining a fruit. What does that mean? Anybody? Huh? Awakening. It could be awakening.
Okay,
Loud so I can.
like planting a fruit you work at,
Planting a fruit?
or planting a seed.
Planting a seed, yes.
You put in work.
So it's,
And then you got the fruit.
okay, you've done this, right? No, of course not. It all sounds very simple, but anybody who's done any kind of farming or horticulture realizes you don't just throw fruits down and then kind of sit back and wait for seeds down and wait for the fruit. There's a lot of work involved. Besides the point, though, this is an agricultural metaphor or simile that you find throughout these texts. Cultivation, the very notion of the word cultivation has to do with what we call husbandry of the land and the soil and the nurturing. And it gives a kind of natural sense to this too in the rhythm. But fruit here, anybody else? One is awakening. Going once, going twice. Jinwei, what were you going to say? No? What does it mean to obtain the fruit? Okay, realization. And actually, you could use realization here, I think, as a legitimate, better translation. Because realization has to do with achieving, but it also has to do literally with making real. Making real. And so the fruit is real in a sense. So it's a good metaphor, but then you don't obtain the fruit. He has a realization or enjoys a realization that corresponds to his intent. That would be even a little better in English. And then, of course, accomplish the unsurpassed fruit. That clearly, when they put unsurpassed in there, is probably referring to then the highest accomplishment in spiritual cultivation, which would be Buddhahood itself. Anyhow, I just point that out. Tonight, I want to just spend a little time here talking about one concept. That's why we're not going to finish, because I'm going to go into this one concept tonight. And the reason I go into this is the line here, from the first time he made offerings to the Buddhas, his mind has been pliant and patient. Pliant and patient. In English, we might use the word docile. Everybody know the word docile? D-O-C-I-L-E, docile, docility. It means to be able to readily absorb something that's taught. There's a willingness to yield, to soften, or to cooperate, or to be sympathetic because of a desire to be agreeable, or almost like a natural open-mindedness. It's considered to be one of the virtues of a student. I want to stress this docility, which means an open-mindedness, a pliancy, a softness. However, it has to be in this text here, and in general, balanced with discernment. So it's not just submission and being an easy rollover. There has to be a combination in docility with discernment. They have to go hand in hand. If it's too docile, you become a patsy, so to speak. You become an unthinking just sponge, and you have no discernment. And so if you're really in a good situation, as Mencius says, you draw near, whatever you draw near, you become that color. You draw near rouge, you turn red. You draw near the coal, you turn black. You draw near good advisors, you radiate, and you draw near bandits, you go down. By the way, and this is not just referring to people, it's referring to whatever you draw near in terms of sight, sound, smells, taste, intangibles, and your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. You draw near to certain of those, you become that. You become what you think, you become what you eat, you become what you feel, you become who you associate with, you become what you look at. We become what we behold. It's very interesting. And then conversely, we behold what we become. And so there's a closed loop here. You got to be very careful. Garbage in, garbage out, so to speak. I'm digressing. This is why we never finish this stuff. Anyways, in the Lotus Sutra, I remember we're reading this passage in the Lotus Sutra, and there was a monk in the class. When we came to this line, he said, gosh, that's my takeaway for the whole sutra. And the line was, endowed in various degrees with willingness to understand, with the willingness to understand. And he at that point said, to me, that's the whole thrust of the Lotus Sutra and the challenge of me and my own cultivation. Can I open up and soften enough and have a willingness to understand, which I would take to be a good definition of pliant and patient. It's a willingness to understand. It's not simply saying, I'll accept anything, but it's an open willingness to have something open. And then when this passage occurs in the Lotus, the Buddha explains, or maybe it's a Buddha, or maybe it's Manjushri at this point, I don't know who's talking. But he's saying this is the most important quality, is this willingness to understand, because it's impossible to explain Dharma. This is very interesting. It matches with a part of the Avatamsaka, where at the end of the Avatamsaka, chapter 39, there's a section that says, you can experience it, but you can't explain it. You can know it directly, but you can't put it into words. So there's this tension here between approaching this deep understanding of things as they really are that has to be experienced directly, because it cannot just be explained in words. Words don't do it. Therefore, the willingness to understand requires a certain patience until something cooks to the point that there's an opening that occurs naturally. If you're too, I won't say eager, overly eager or ambitious to get it, it'll actually frustrate the learning process. On the other hand, if you don't digest and slowly come at it on your own with your own powers, it won't be yours. You won't get the flavor. So this is a very tricky thing that's been talked about. And this, again, from the Lotus says, the powers of speech fail. No other sentient being is able to understand it except for those bodhisattvas who, in their confidence or trust, are willing to understand. Now you have a linking between trust, maybe faith, you want to say, xin in Chinese, and jie, understanding or resolving. In fact, the 4th chapter of the Lotus Sutra is called Xinjie, and it's translated different ways. One translation is belief and understanding, or I would say confidence and understanding, or trust and understanding. And they're conjoined. It's not one or the other. There's not understanding or faith, but there's actually faith coming with understanding, understanding leading to faith. They mutually reinforce each other. Another translation is very interesting, of the same terms, decisive liberation. Xinjie, decisive liberation. And then another one is willing acceptance. Very interesting. In any event, I guess what I'm pointing to here is that in the process of what we're doing here, there's this tension between having some initial trust and confidence. And what are they? There are 3 that are given. Often they're given as the teacher, the teachings, and oneself. When my teacher was explaining, he says, unless you have the 3rd one, you won't get the other 2. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to have trust in yourself. If you don't have trust in yourself, the other 2 are useless. Because even if you start to have some progress, you'll doubt that you are able or capable of getting it. This is why I don't want to say this too hard. I pointed out at one time at a conference, someone said, you can have accomplishment, how do they put it? Without faith. And I asked the question, could you have it with faith? And the question here would be, if you do not trust yourself, if you start with the premise that you are not whole and complete, that you fundamentally lack, you have an innate depravity, so to speak, then you will not be able to accomplish this in your meditation practice or your cultivation practice, because as you get closer, you'll doubt deeper and deeper that you are able to do this. And so not having faith can become an obstacle, but having too much faith can be an obstacle as well. So this is kind of tricky. Which is why in Dharma I like to translate shin as confidence or trust, or willingness and open willingness. When the Buddha was teaching his disciples, you see this in many texts, something called an expression, ehipassiko, ehipassiko. And he didn't say, here it is, guys, I'm the teacher. Come and see, ehipassiko, come and see, consider this. And so what was being done here was an evocation of being soft, willing, and open, but see for yourself. You see it in the 3 turnings of the 4 truths. The first one, the Buddha declares, this is what I've done. I really had a profound experience. Of course, it was obvious to everybody. He didn't have to really declare it because it was evident by his whole demeanor. But the second turning of the 4 truths was, I exhort you to do this. Ehipassiko, come and take this up. And the third one is the direct affirmation, knowing for yourself. So you see it's built into this faith and willingness. In fact, in the Buddhist tradition, faith is not final, it's operative, it's instrumental. It's called the source of the way, it's not the end of the way. The end of the way is this fruit, this awakening, this realization. So gnosis, deep understanding, prajna, replaces faith. So faith is a raft that you use. Without it, you can't get going. But if you don't let go of it, you'll sink. So this is really interesting. Anyhow, I will give you a passage that I really like. Can you, this is for you, when concentrating your breath, this is on meditation technique, make it soft like that of a little child? No. It is thus that the soft overcomes the hard and the weak overcomes the strong. When a person's born, he's soft and weak, but in death, aging becomes stiff and hard. The 10,000 creatures in all plants and trees, while they are alive and supple, are soft. But when they're dead, they become brittle and dry. Truly, what is stiff and hard is a companion of death, and what is soft and weak is a companion of life. And this is the soft, pliant quality. Anybody know where that's from? I made it up. I'm pretty good on the spot, huh? Every once in a while I get a muse coming in and gives me little things like that. You should hear me do it in Chinese. No, I did not make it up. Where's it from? Anybody? Tao Te Ching. Oh, good. We know that. Nothing in heaven is softer and more yielding than ice. Water. You're right. But when it attacks things hard and resistant, there is not one of them that can prevail, for they can find no way of altering it. That the yielding conquers the resistant and the soft overcomes the hard is a fact known by all people, yet utilized by none. And we insist when we get in situations, hardness, stiffness, fighting, aggression, holding our own. And this happens, by the way, not just in our affairs, but in our relationships. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. I'm tired of this. I'm not going to take it anymore. Boom, 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 right? Let's go to a marriage counselor. If they followed this, there would be no marriage counselors in California. Tao Te Ching replaces it. But it also happens in your meditation. The reason there's pain and hurting and stiffness in meditation is because there's stiff holding on and hardness. So the soft line, when it says, make your breath like a little child, make your muscles like that of a little child, make your tendons and ligaments make your thoughts like that of a little child. Now, I don't want to regress you too far back, but get into that state. Any event, there was a good deal more. I'm going to close here for tonight, but I'll close with 2 stories, and I'll turn it over. Jin Chuan and Jin Hui, they got some nice pictures. I don't have any pictures for you tonight. This is to illustrate from my own experience the quotes that I just gave you. This applies, I'm saying, in self-cultivation meditation. Holding precepts is a softening. Holding precepts is softening your substance. So is bowing, repentance, and renewal. Bowing in particular is the pliant softening. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And it's not like, I'm sorry you feel that way about what I did. That's not repentance. I'm sorry you took it that way. I'm sorry I was misunderstood. I'm sorry my words were not well chosen. I mean, on and on and on, these phony repentance, but a real honest repentance is cathartic. And it's cathartic in the sense that it opens up space for the heart to come back and be soft and pliant again. There's nothing like it. Renewal through repentance, wow. Anyhow, when I was doing martial arts, there's a similar principle, so I share these two stories. The one school of martial arts I was studying with was very hard and externally aggressive, and you never back down. You learn to stand your ground and to fight. And one of the best students in my class, this was in Chicago, went home after class, was walking, and was accosted by 3 young men for a robbery and a mugging. And Bill, like lightning speed, took out 2 of them, just boom, boom, boom. And the third one pulled a gun and shot him dead. And that really hit home to me because I looked up to him as a martial artist. He was really quite good. And I realized that the attitude, though, killed him more than the others. He had $10 in his wallet. So the hard can work for a little bit, but in the end, it does you in. The other story I tell is also real. This is my other teacher was teaching Tai Chi and martial arts. And we were in the studio at night, and a warm night, the doors were open. And in wanders this real heavy-duty, tough, thuggish guy, probably a little drunk or stoned or something, but he was in the mood for a fight. Now, in that studio at the time, many of us were advanced in our martial arts training, black belts and so forth, even though we had now moved over to Tai Chi. And so myself and a few others were like, okay, we're going to take this dude out. We're going to protect the rest of the class, protect the Daojang here, and so on and so forth. And just as we were sort of getting ready to move on this guy, and it would have been an interesting back and forth, my teacher comes over to the guy directly, and he puts his palms together. He says, because the guy's saying, well, you guys are a bunch of wusses. I'm learning martial arts. I really, I'm going to show you, and so on and so forth. And the teacher comes over to him, and he says, I'm so glad you came. I myself have been just holding the door here because I'm a novice. I don't know much about the martial arts at all. I can tell you're really accomplished. And by the way, we were just going to go out across the street to the tennis court and do a little stretching stuff. Would you mind staying here and watching the studio? And then if anybody comes in, you could teach them the real kung fu, the real skills. I'll leave you in charge. He pulled over a chair. Please sit down, sir. And he goes, so he sits down like this. And the teacher says, and everybody just leaves. Everybody just leaves and goes out. And he's in there, and then he goes, nobody got hurt. We came back in about 20, 30 minutes later. He was gone, wandering down the street. And then my teacher had a wonderful line. He said, that's, in the Chan school, what they mean by the sound of one hand clapping. I went, what? He said, if you don't put the other hand up, this just goes by. So I share that with you, the idea of the soft and pliant overcoming the hard. It's good for long life, and it's also good for the fruit. Okay, I'm going to close there and turn it over to Jintuan. I have to leave a little early, so I'm going to kind of sneak out on you, sip my tea, and just watch a few of these. And this is our last class for this semester. We'll pick up again when, Kian?
Late January or early February.
Okay, late January. And then, should we finish the chapter? Yeah, we'll finish the chapter, and then we'll move on to the next chapter. So you all have a good break in between, and try every day to include some of this in your practice, some of this practice in your actually daily regimen. Make it like a habit. I'm encouraging habituation. Okay. Thank you. Someone asked to live with me. Can I come and live with you during the winter? And I said, sure, no, absolutely not. I go into a hermit's solitude during the winter. I'm like the sun that disappears on the horizon. If I don't go into solitude in the winter break, I'm done for. Then I can come back. Okay.
Okay, we can move the camera. So Marty asked us to put some photos together for the recent trip we had to China. So that's what we did. So the first photo there, Luke, if you could show it. So what we went for in China was called okay, let me test my Chinese. 中美加三国佛教界 What's this one? 祈祷世界和平法会 Ceremony of China, U.S., Canada Buddhist prayer for world peace. That was
What do you remember the theme of the? What
the
was
theme. I don't quite remember.
Oh gosh.
It was something about everyone getting along.
and coexistence,
And
peaceful,
Tranquil mind,
tranquil mind, peaceful
and
coexistence.
Peaceful coexistence. Yeah.
Tranquil mind, peaceful
Yeah.
coexistence.
So tranquil mind, peaceful coexistence. And this was our delegation that went. So you can see Reverend Heng Sure in the middle. Ajahn Jayasaro, who we mentioned last time. He's an elder in the Thai forest tradition. He wrote Ajahn Chah's biography, Stillness Flowing. He's quite exceptional. He actually has like a Dharma visa from Thailand. And he goes to the Thai embassies to speak Dharma to all the ambassadors of the officials in the embassies of Thailand. So he is also the tutor of the prince at one point, who's now the king of Thailand.
We should propose this for White House.
Yeah. We can have a Dharma Datu, the Dharma
Dharma
messenger going to all our
American
US
embassies.
Yeah, American embassies. That'd be great. People know Ajahn Kovilo. He's a DRBU student. Ajahn Nisabo, who is his friend, who they're starting a monastery together called Clear Mountain Monastery in Seattle. Then you have Ted Berger also joined us. He's the movie, what do you call him? The film director of Amongst White Clouds.
One Mind.
He took some camera shots, but he wasn't like full on documentary here. But he was very happy being there. He's almost like a child, I could see it in his spirit when we were in China. He was at this monastery, which I'll show you some of the pictures. He was looking at the trees. He's like, wow, look at those trees. Like, wow.
Or some paintings or calligraphy. He's like a lover of Chinese culture. I never seen be so excited about few, strokes.
Yeah.
I still learn to appreciate them. Yeah. But he's definitely very into it.
Yeah, but he's saying, so those trees are what they use in landscape painting. Those are the trees. So he was really excited.
And it's interesting, he's also kind of someone who introduced Chinese Buddhism into the West. Included myself. I was so...
Both of us? Oh, you can't share those pictures? Oh, you can't share it on YouTube? Really? But you can share. But you can just do a share screen from the OBS. You share screen from OBS, you'll be able to do both. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, anyway, we'll keep going, and if you can figure it out, it'd be great. If not, no problem. Yeah, you can turn it.
You can turn it a bit.
But if you do OBS, you'll be able to. Okay, so then you have Amy. People know Amy Chang Chen. Madalena, who is kind of the main link to China. She's, I won't say how old she is now, but
you cannot say that.
But she's still strong and energetic, and she was actually the person who invited Master Hua to America.
She's the one.
She's
1962, and she took the refuge from him in Hong Kong at age 9, I think, or 10?
12.
12?
Something like 12.
At the time, still Venerable Master Empty Cloud was alive. Give a perspective, it's quite amazing. And she's still going strong.
Yeah, she's still going strong. Michael, who's graduated from the boys' school, and he served as a translator. And of course, Jingwei Shi and myself.
And Reverend Heng Sure, who flew from Australia to join the conference.
So this is another photo. I think last time I mentioned how we had a number of bhikshunis who kind of showed us around. And you'll see them in this photo. They were kind of like our English interpreters. So we often would not know what we're doing or what we're supposed to be doing. And they're like, no, go there, no, don't go there.
It's quite amazing, constant care, every step is watched. How I can help you, very bright, kind of energetic, and the ones of highlights to be actually with this monastics.
I mentioned last time about one of the nuns was part of a Chan monastery. So she was part of the Chan monastery, and she said that her one of the books that introduced Chan, or at least kind of a beginner's meditation book, was actually Joseph Goldstein's Settling the Mind or something like that.
Can you show the quote? This one, she is interesting. She was a hotel manager in Dubai, in the highest building in the world. Somehow found it her calling to follow the monastic path, and she stayed 6 years in the Pure Land monastery, chanting all day long Buddha's name. After 6 years, she just came to Hangzhou, and she is a student in the Buddhist academy with other nuns. Quite interesting people. Very kind of dedicated to practice.
Yeah, and their English was pretty much perfect. Oh, how come it's not letting me? Oh, what's going on here? Let me try this.
Oh.
It's giving me a kind of you get to see part of the photo, but not all the photo.
They're not moving?
Let me see here. Okay, let me try again. There we go.
Okay, now it's good.
See the full photo now. So this was the Buddha Hall at Jingshan Monastery, and we thought it was quite kind of beautiful, because usually all the images in China are kind of gilded, completely gold. This one had that kind of wooden aesthetic still, and it's just a little bit of gold just to outline the robes and outline the features. And it's just kind of done in a very artistic way, and very kind of, they say zhuangyuan, very kind of inspiring, very dignified.
And as you see, everything in China has a different scale. Those statues are also giant, coming to the temple. The picture doesn't show that really, because it's really impressive. And the number of people who are visiting those temples are also quite impressive. We will show later.
This is behind the images, and this is Guanyin Bodhisattva. And I think people might be able to recognize the images here. Right? Can anybody guess?
And you see who is here.
I see this. This is actually more of an newer. It's an old monastery, but it's been rebuilt many times. So this is a recent rebuilding. We actually were the first big activity there since they rebuilt it. But I think it has maybe a 1,200-year history, and they said it's actually was the origin of the Chan Huatou, the Who question, was originated here. The Japanese Zen ceremonies actually came through here. Actually, that's what Japanese came and saw this place, and then brought it to Japan. A lot of the architecture came through here too. It's one of these very important Chan monasteries. There's a Sudana. See Sudana requesting Dharma here?
Yeah.
All the images. And actually during the forum, I thought one of the professors actually shared something I thought was very interesting. He's talking about the changes of hermeneutics when Buddhism came from India to China.
What means kind of ways of interpreting.
Yeah, interpreting Buddhism. And he was saying in India you have all this debate, right? They have these outside ways, the Wai Dao, you kind of debate different perspectives and views and philosophies. And he said when it came to China, particularly with Sudana's journey, which got kind of picked up very strongly in Chinese Buddhism, there's a sense of learning from all traditions. And so that became the kind of the underlying approach where it started absorbing like Confucianism, Taoism into the tradition.
Integrating kind of and kind of coexisting each other, yeah.
So it's just an interesting kind of thought. I was like, that was an interesting idea. So you can see the Buddha images, just really well done. This is kind of, it has a very Zen aesthetic, and I brought it up. It was very Zen aesthetic. Says, no. This comes from the Song dynasty. This came from China. I said,
of
okay.
course, everything is invited in China, included Zen.
I understand. But definitely, it's just a really kind of nicely done. It's just really nicely done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You can just see the kind of the architecture, the buildings, just really done in a, just from the top, kind of a panorama.
So
This is I think just one of the pictures in front. And this is with the president of the Chinese Buddhist Association, Dharma Master Yan Jue, and here's Reverend Heng Sure, Ajahn Jayasaro. Michael's helping to translate. And Dharma Master Yan Jue, you could say, has real deep respect for Master Hua. When we visited last time, I was quite moved. Because in China, you'll notice the monks don't actually wear their precept sash very much. So when we show up, we look very strange because you have like 200 or 300 monks, and we're the only ones wearing precept sashes. So we stand out like a sore thumb. And so that's not a usual practice in China. And so when we showed up, though, at their monastery, at the main monastery in Beijing, the headquarters of the Chinese Buddhist Association, we were greeted by all the monks, all wearing precept sashes.
Like 80 or 90, of, a lot of them.
Yeah, it was just quite touching to see that, he really honors what Master Hua represents in terms of bringing the Dharma to the West and carrying on this lineage, and really honoring Reverend Heng Sure coming back and carrying that back to China. And it's very interesting because Reverend Heng Sure going to China is seen as an elder, although Reverend Heng Sure likes to joke about it, but he's called Zanglao, which means, very, very, very elder.
The most senior.
Yeah, most senior. Yeah, so he's like the most senior monk because there's a certain generation of monks who were not able to be monks for a period of time. And so he goes there and he's the elder monk. And the monks who actually are some of the abbots now, like the abbot of Linging Monastery, which we'll see shortly, he actually was ordained as Reverend Heng Sure being his confessor acharya. So he was one of the main people helping transmit precepts in China when he took the precepts. So the younger generation of monastics actually also have that connection. This was I mentioned the other
Abbot
of Jingshan Monastery when we talked about Chan. So Ajahn Jayasaro, so Reverend Heng Sure asked him about Chan and the Huatou, how he teaches. Then he turned to Ajahn Jayasaro, right? So
I have a doubt about the translation of doubt.
I have a doubt about the translation of doubt for Chan. Oh, you want to go from here?
Oh yeah, so this is an interesting also place when we visited. I don't know for sure that is, but you see this is a dragon. There's a lot of dragons in the monasteries as a kind of protectors, but as a kind of tantor coming from the mouth is like a guqin instrument, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a guqing. It's actually kind of honoring different kinds of art, if you notice. So there's like a guqing. See, there's a calligraphy brush.
Yeah, calligraphy brush.
Like a seal. So this was like a artistic monastery.
And it's interesting what we recognize, the nuns who take care of us, and many monks and nuns who lives in this monastery, in neighbors' monasteries, are trained in art. They're calligraphers, they know how to play music very well. So it's like very interesting way how we can bring the cultivation to different activities. Like art can be something can capture and transform our awareness. Can you go further?
Yeah.
Can you skip this one? Oh, this one is interesting. So we have a lot of kind of contemplation dialogues about different aesthetics and differences between West and East. You can see here, can you see people on this painting?
Turn up your volume a little bit.
I show you.
So where's Waldo?
Over here, right? And and here, right? It's a different emphasis in the art itself, right? And very holistic, and the nature very often of most of the art is nature presented.
Yeah.
And kind of a spaciousness, and is very contemplative itself. And maybe a few weeks before, we actually have a chance to be in France, and visited Louvre. And as you know, it's a lot of art in Louvre, and you have whole history on the Western art, starting from Greek and Roman, and go through Christianity, Renaissance, Baroque, and I think we end up in Baroque in there. But it's a different approach to art, what is much more individualistic in the West and very human-centered. The human and kind of sensuality is very close. It was funny to came to the Louvre with the nuns and monks. It's a lot of, how to say, bodies without clothes. And so forth. It's like, oh, okay. And of course, it's a beauty there, but it's a different emphasis what the art represents and how even in the West we approach art. And a little bit for me, it's like that Chinese or Asian art helping to quiet the mind and senses, but also we need to have a quiet mind to notice all the details and appreciate. It's for a little bit like drinking a tea. And for many Westerners, like tea, wow, it's no sugar, it's how I can take it. It takes some skills and quietness to start appreciate the subtleties. And in Starbucks, we have a different taste, right? We have double sugar and cream on it, and a strong sense. But what I want to say, not just putting down the Western art, because as we know, from the Greek tradition, like we know in Plato's Symposium, is the different type of beauty and love, and Diotima sense of beauty actually coming and starting with physical expression of beauty, go through appreciation of intellect and virtue. And in fact, the beauty can move to the realm of the spirituality, and we can train ourselves to appreciate the beauty itself. But they have a training. And for us, it's also an interesting question. It's not just visual art, but a different form of art, like a music. For instance, how the ceremonies can sound in the West that can inspire our heart, open the heart. The Chinese ceremonies sound a little bit different. And definitely I see invoking something in people's heart, and the monks who are full heart chanting, we also can appreciate that, but it's a different aesthetic a bit. So how we can train our senses, how we can train and using the art that actually have this therapeutic effect in our hearts and minds is a big question still.
So you can see just from the way that the monasteries are laid out, it's just like kind of like a landscape painting.
Exactly.
So
So
you look at that, and then you look at that.
and it's interesting,
see it.
the art is also in the architecture, and this kind of a dance between nature and architecture is really kind of affect your heart. It was amazing, like you feel kind of grounded there and kind of deeply kind of connected with the land.
I don't know if people can recognize where this is. It's a very famous place in China. Anybody know? I'll just give you a clue. Hangzhou. Yeah, Westlake. This is Westlake. Shihu. It's where the painters and poets, this is like where the literati sat and watched this lake and wrote their poetry and drew their paintings. And Westlake, yeah, Westlake. And one of the nuns brought us here. She said, oh, you have to go here. I don't know if I can really read this, but she said, I think this is where Su Dongpo, you people know he's he's kind of like the Shakespeare in China.
Oh.
He's very, very famous. And he would sit here, right there, and he'd look out on the Westlake and write his poetry. So now we're going to Linging Monastery. This is our main host. This was their main monastery. And I don't know if you can guess how many people visit a day there. Any guesses? Who haven't heard me say what it was?
It's a quick.
2,000. Keep going up.
Okay, keep going.
5,000 more.
Okay.
A
Go
day.
up.
More.
A day.
More. 30.
30,000.
30,000 a
a
day,
day.
probably average, goes up to 100,000 a day. They have like 10 million visitors a year.
When we host that 30 people in Redwood Vihar, wow, 30 people show up.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
whoa, how we can take care of the restrooms and everything, 30,000.
Yeah.
So it's so if we go from Hangzhou to this place, Lingingsi, it's almost constant traffic jam. So it's so packed with cars that they start considering to actually build a subway station in Hangzhou.
Yeah, directly here.
We hope that maybe in the future it will be in Redwood Vihara.
Yeah, we have a subway.
BART.
Just directly, we can propose to BART. I think we have a direct subway to the monastery. So this is their images at the monastery. This is Manjushri Bodhisattva. Again, this is, I think Hangzhou is a really artistic place.
Yeah.
And so the monasteries just have this kind of really beautiful aesthetic. This is Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. You can just see from the face is so gentle. He's an elephant.
Yes,
yeah.
it's an elephant.
And you know the 6 tusks for the 6 paramitas? And you'll see that with ours as well over there. The 6 tusks. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. And then on very top of the monastery there's kind of the Avatamsaka Bodhisattvas. So we're just reciting here. We went to the images.
We do kind of interfaith chanting.
Yeah,
We
they
do
chant.
Pali, we do a little bit English. And
Yeah.
it was very touching.
Yeah, here we're doing another chant. This is in their 500 Arhat hall. They have Arhats all around here.
And literally 500 of them are in the
Yeah.
hall.
Okay, so another thing very interesting at this monastery, they call a place called Fei Lai Feng. And I know you say grottos, but these are carvings in the mountains. And they've been, I think for 1,200 years, monks have been carving in these mountains these images. And they're still preserved. So this was preserved from the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah.
Because, as I understand it, I think Zhou Enlai, who was my Chinese sister is not so great. He was what was his position? He was very high up in the government. And so, because at that point, a lot of people were actually, many children go around destroying kind of the cultural artifacts because they were trying to destroy tradition. And so he would actually send the military into places that he wanted to save. And so this was one of these cultural places. So he sent the military to stay there. So then the kids wouldn't go in and destroy it because they wouldn't take on the military. So this place was kind of preserved. And you can see the images are just quite amazing.
Yeah, really.
They call Fei Lai Feng, meaning this just flew in from who knows where. Fei Lai Feng. You can see the images.
Maybe then fly to Santa Cruz Mountains one day.
We can do it. This is just carved. Just all this whole place is just carved with images all around like this. Oh, so when we also had a huge performance one of the evenings, and this is also another flying act here. These are Shaolin monks.
They're
These
real
are
people.
people, and so they have all these monks, so it was like a huge Buddhist musical.
It's like Chinese Broadway kind of opera, and I don't know what to say.
And martial arts.
Martial arts.
And so they had maybe 50 monks in the back chanting, 50 monks back here chanting, and then they have
some flying.
and some flying. So they had these all these Shaolin monks came up in the front, and they actually you can see this little bit of the rope here. They actually put ropes on them, and they actually pull them up. And
Really? So they're not flying?
I'm sorry. Well, actually put down a screen so you don't really see the rope.
You ruined my faith in the ability of
So
human.
they're flying up and flipping and doing all this acrobatics. And we have this video. You can see that. So this is part of the, as I said, Shaolin.
No joke.
Yeah, no joke. So those are spears. Just so you know. He's being held by spears. So pretty intense.
We can have a guided meditation in the future. On
Yeah,
the
you can have
afterlife.
everybody might try to go up on your body on spears. So this is actually the forum. So this is the main event. Verhoeven Heng Sure is actually here going about to speak. He was one of the keynotes. And so there's Ted Berger's here and Ajahn Kovilo.
Yeah.
Ajahn Jayasaro's up in front. And so people just give talks throughout the forum. Here's the the theme: tranquil mind, auspicious coexistence.
Auspicious coexistence.
Auspicious coexistence. That's right. Okay, so we're almost done. So, there's a lot more to share. So at the very end, the abbot of Lingyi Monastery wanted us to go to one of their monasteries they're building.
Mm.
So this is the building, the monastery under construction. You know, you can see the courtyard built. You know, this is the roof of it. And there's this building after building after building like this. And we asked, how long did this take you? I think they said 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year. We have like 200 people
I don't
working on
know.
it all the time.
It's like, wow. We are very proud of ourselves. We changed our garage.
Yeah.
into Buddha
We got,
hall.
our
You know,
garage
it's
looks like a
wow.
Buddha hall now. Wow, we did a really
Wow.
good job. Yeah, so they do a different scale. It's a different
Really,
scale.
it's really amazing.
Yeah, it's just. Is it? Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is. You could say. Well, this one's a little bit further out, so I don't know if we can have that many visitors here.
But it's very kind of well-known tourist spot.
Yeah, it's a very known tourist area.
Yeah.
So it's kind of secluded out in the mountains a little bit, or I don't say mountains, but in nature. So but they just build it like, pretty amazing. So we saw that, and then we went to Shanghai. I put a couple of photos here because I wanted to tell a little bit the history of our relationship with China. So this is the abbot of, I think, Longhua Monastery?
Longhua, yeah.
Longhua Monastery in Shanghai, which is one of the oldest monasteries in China. And actually, his teacher, Dharma Master Mingyang, was a very good friend of Master Hua's, and actually was the one who kind of presided over the final ceremonies for Master Hua in CDTB, and was the one who actually invited Rev Heng Sure to China to do the precept ceremony, and where he transmitted the precept to the abbot of Lingyi Monastery now, who was, at that time receiving precepts. And this was the abbot there now, and at that time he was still a young monk when he actually accompanied his master to CDTB for the Waterland Air ceremony.
1987.
Yeah, so I put, this is kind of the room that we were in. You can see, and everybody, some of the DRBA disciples that are kind of in China kind of joined us. But what I wanted to say was he showed us this Waterland Air ceremony happening in China. This is Sui Lu, water, land. And it's kind of a ceremony to really kind of save the beings who are, suffering in water and suffering on land. And Master Hua, I think, added the space, the air, because people also die in plane crashes. So you had air in there too now.
It's like
water, land, air.
most esoteric I can imagine. It takes few days, and one of the part of the ceremony is opening the hells and liberating the, beings from there. We never have a chance to actually attend. Have you?
No, I didn't. Just being here, this was
Yeah,
actually a Waterland
just
Air
one-
ceremony.
one
This
of
is
this,
about
but-
as much as I've participated in. So he just showed it to us happening. But this is a picture of the 1987 Waterland Air ceremony. If Reverend Heng Sure was here, he'd be able to tell you each of these monks and what their names are. But when he shows this image, the monks in China are extremely impressed because these monks are essentially the great masters of China.
And Taiwan. And Taiwan too, I think they came, right?
Yeah,
Or not?
I'm not sure if this, well, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe. But at least in this one, what we heard was actually Master Hua inviting them all over at that time, because China just opened up, was the only time all these masters actually got together and then came together to America. So all these elder masters are actually like the great masters in China who are extremely respected. They're like, Master Empty Cloud's like attendants and so forth. And then these younger monks were the kind of junior monks at the time who were like attending to these monks. And they're now the leadership of China, interesting enough. So Master Hua, by doing these ceremonies, actually connected, all these monks to CDTB.
Reverend Heng Sure is there, right?
Where's Reverend Heng Sure there?
On the top.
Oh yeah, there's Reverend Heng Sure. You see Reverend Heng Sure up top? 1987. Yeah, they're all wearing precept sashes.
Yeah.
And then, and at the very end, very moving. So when they were leaving, Master Hua actually kneeled and gave every one of them beads,
Beads.
from the most elder to the most junior. So the monks still remember that when we were in China, and when some of the monks we met who actually came to that, they remember at the very end. You're just a junior monk, and here's Master Hua, who was like the Chan master, very accomplished, and he's kneeling there giving you a string of beads. And it's very moving. You can see, of course, they kneel down too to receive it, but it's just that kind of connection. And so it's amazing that Master Hua made those linkages that now, in a way, we have the blessings to be able to be visiting China and kind of, not just kind of visiting China, but like connecting to the deep roots of what the Dharma is there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we got. So, yep. Okay, well, I think given that, we can do our dedication of merit, unless anybody has any questions. It's a little bit over time.
Can turn on maybe light, if someone can, from the back.
Okay, so we can take the semester's goodness from listening to the Dharma and share it out into the world wherever you wish to send it.
May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace, with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright.
If people
Hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise.
bow in respect to the three jewels.
To make announcements.
Oh, announcements. Let's see, what do we want to say?
So we have a Christmas Eve
Christmas.
celebration, 23rd. You see, we are ready. And the Santa Claus.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
We're doing the Christmas Eve celebration here.
Santa Claus visited us once. Maybe he will come again. We'll see. And you see on the top of the Christmas tree, he said, yes, exactly. It's like it's Institute for World Religion, so we get along each other.
Yeah.
And so we planned at 9 a.m. It will be a kind of moment where we can chant. We want to also showing the kind of next door house, right?
Yeah, we have been working on. We have actually, DRBA kind of purchased a next door house here, and we've been working on the backyard to make it kind of an open space for doing Tai Chi and meditation. That's very nice.
Actually, Marty started.
Yeah, Marty actually comes in the morning now that does Tai Chi in the
and
back.
doing,
Yeah.
So there will be 9, and also we have a lunch, and Verhoeven Heng Sure will connect with us.
Yeah, he'll
through
call in
and
and join us after meal.
we have Buddhist carols.
We do have Buddhist carols.
Silent mind, holy mind,
all is calm,
all is bright. Deep vipassana, thoughts rise and fall.
Yeah, anyway,
Anyway,
we'll go
you
into
can
it.
learn more.
Yeah, come
Come
on
23rd.
December 23rd. Hmm? 23rd, yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday, December 23rd. Yeah, so if you have time, welcome to come. 9 a.m. will begin. And other than that, there's a lot of actual retreats happening this summer. So if people are interested, maybe check out the BBM website. We haven't posted it all yet right now, but we'll post it tomorrow before Reverend Heng Sure's lecture. So you can check it out. I know Extension is going to be doing the Guanyin retreat, I think, in March. There's going to be a Student Center retreat in, I think, early June. There's going to be Buddha Root Farm also late June. There's also going to be Bodhisattva Precepts in July. And also Guanyin session then as well. So
And also important kind of shift is happening here. And the end of January, Jinchuan and myself, we moved to Redwood Vihara,
yeah, we're going to Redwood Vihara.
to the forest. So you
Yeah.
don't see that often as here, some from time to time, but you can visit us.
Yeah, you can visit
in,
Redwood Vihara.
Redwood Forest.
That's right.
And we're beginning a kind of establishing place. We hope that young people and not necessarily young can find inspiration if they want to walk monastic path, bodhisattva path in the forest. So this is our kind
Yeah.
of intention.
Yeah.
And
you can see the pictures.
you can contact us if you want to come. Very often Saturday or Sunday, we have a day for volunteers. You can be in the forest, and there's a lot of activities what you can do there.
Yeah.
And
We were very proud of our Buddha hall, like
Our
converted from a garage, you know. Took us only maybe like a couple years. But you know, we got
But it's still
done.
impressive. And
Yeah.
definitely is the real Chinese art here. Ming Dynasty.
Yeah, Ming Dynasty. These Buddha images here are Ming Dynasty.
Real.
They're actually 500-600 years old, and also Burmese image 200-300 years old.
So the
They have a new home.
and
Yes,
the,
right.
the inspiration is really bring the two traditions together, the northern and southern, the
Yeah.
Theravada Mahayana.
And there's mushrooms, so people often go mushroom hunting. Definitely, some people love mushroom hunting. Yeah, so it's just, but the forest is, I think, the main draw. These redwoods are like a natural cathedral.
So if you want to visit, please contact us, and definitely weekends are a good time to come.
Yeah,
From February to, I think, March, right? No, to April, will be more or less kind of focused on the retreat.
yeah, we'll be kind of more secluded, but probably we'll have a weekend event, like
Weekend
maybe
event.
one day a week that people can come and visit and join in activities. And then otherwise we won't be kind of having an ongoing people coming in. But after that, our thought was then people could actually come and visit, you know, and just kind of spend some time immersing in the monastery. It won't be so focused on just having retreats. And that way people can have a chance to be exposed to the monastic rhythm.
And it's not that far from here, like 1 hour, 30 minutes
An
drive.
hour and a half south. of here.
So,
Probably mid-January,
mid-January.
kind of more, but February 1st officially we're going to start. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's it, and wish everyone well.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, yeah. And Happy New Year.